Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. But today is Friday, the 6th of December 2024. Even the month of December is moving at a very, very brisk pace. So, of course, as usual, we have lots to discuss with you with reference to this day as well. And without further ado, this is the lineup for today's show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the war against terrorism, the Corps Commanders meeting statement, of course, the Formation Commanders meeting statement that also came released by the ISPR. We'll also add what our Prime Minister said at the 7th Maritime Security Workshop at the Naval College in Lahore today, and we'll be highlighting different aspects of terrorism, whether it be kinetic terrorism or whether it be digital terrorism. We'll be highlighting the efforts that are being made, have been made, what needs to be done, and who's behind all of this. This is going to be part of our first segment. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the violence against women and, of course, the 16 days of activism that began on the 25th of November with the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women and will end on the 10th of this month, that is on the coming Tuesday, with the Human Rights Day being observed across the world, which highlights that violence against women. Of course, today it's all about women, violence against women, and how important is it not only to highlight it but also to understand the complexities around it, what needs to be done. Violence against women is not a global south issue, it's not a global north issue, this is a global issue. And it is as important and pertinent to be dealt with in the Western states as it is in this region. This is going to be our second segment. Then we are going to talk about the 32 years of the Shahadat of the Babri Mosque, which is also being observed with solemnity today. It was this very day in 1992 when the Babri Mosque was desecrated, was rendered shaheed by a couple of zealots, by a couple of extremists in India. We still remember that very day 32 years down the lane, and we still know and understand the brutalities and the mindset, the Hindutva mindset behind that. Finally, we're going to talk about the 53rd martyrdom anniversary of Major Shabir Sharif Shaheed. Of course, Major Shabir Sharif Shaheed's sacrifices for the nation, for the defense of his motherland, are out there for everyone to see what happened, how he valiantly repeated our enemy counterattacks, destroying advancing tanks in 1971, and of course gave his life, became a martyr on this very day for defending his motherland. And we remember him because he is one of those icons that we need to look towards when we look at bravery, when we look at valiance. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the war against terrorism, whether it be the traditional war against terrorism or the digital war against terrorism. There has been a recent meeting of the different army heads that happened, and the statement that was taken out by the ISP as a result of that also highlighted many of the aspects related to the different forms of terrorism. Then our Prime Minister also talked about it today at a ceremony at the Naval College in Lahore. We've been joined by two guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. Syed Muhammad Ali is a senior analyst, joins us online. So does Brigadier retired Rashid Wali Janjua Saab, who's a defense analyst as well. Thank you to both of my guests to have joined us. We'll begin with Ali. 5th December 2024, 8 Khawarij are sent to hell. This is narrated in a statement by a press release by the ISPR, whether it be the killing of Khan Muhammad, who was involved in numerous terror activities, or whether it be the 6 other Khawarij who were also eliminated in Lucky Marwat district. How important is the resolve of our nation, our defense forces, our security forces to wipe out the menace of terrorism from the country, and how does this resolve continue to strengthen with such events?
Thank you for having me on the show, Omar. I think it is critical for Pakistan and for regional security that Pakistan makes tangible and sustainable gains against both types of terrorism that it currently faces, physical terrorism as well as digital terrorism. And as has been identified clearly in the press statement after the Formation Commanders Conference, you've noticed that besides global issues like Palestine, and regional issues like Kashmir and Afghanistan, a lot of emphasis is on Pakistan's national security challenges. And three challenges have been identified: economic challenge, a challenge of terrorism, and also against digital terrorism. And a very important emphasis is the expectation by the military leadership, from the political leadership, from the legislature, that timely lawmaking effort must be made in national security interests, as a national security imperative, to timely and lawfully implicate all those individuals and entities involved in digital terrorism and trying to weaken Pakistan's social contract and erode the trust of state and military institution in the eyes, in the hearts and minds of the people. So that is something that is a critical challenge, and it is very important that laws are improved and amended, which allows our national institutions the ability to protect national security and also to protect the hearts and minds of our people from this poisonous disinformation campaign against army and all state institutions. So I think that is the most important aspect of this press release. But equally important is the enduring and deepening commitment by Pakistan military leadership against the lingering threat of terrorism. And a strong resolve has been reiterated that Pakistan must make enduring and durable goals and gains against the terrorists. And obviously, Pakistani armed forces expect civilian political leadership, all civilian law enforcement agencies, provincial governments, media, academia, as well as the common people and the religious scholars to close ranks and join this national effort at eradicating terrorism in an enduring and durable manner.
Rashid, Wali, Janjua Sahab, before I come to the Formation Commanders meeting, I'd like to also reiterate what our Prime Minister said today at the 7th Maritime Security Workshop at the Naval College in Lahore. He talked about the resolve of the government of Pakistan and the armed forces and the LEAs to fight the menace of terrorism. He talked about the tremendous sacrifices that we have had in this fight against terrorism that has been going on since the last decades. He also talked about the resurfacing of this menace of terrorism and said that we will not rest until this menace is eradicated again. When we look at the menace of terrorism and the resurfacing of the menace, the first thing that comes to our mind is Fitna al-Khawarij, of course, that emanates from Afghanistan, and of course what is also happening in Balochistan. That was also talked about in the Formations Commanders meeting with respect to the BLA Majid Brigade. How do you see the Army's resolve, our defense forces' resolve to thwart such elements? And do you feel we need to bring some new aspects to our kinetic and non-kinetic battle against them?
Yes, resolve obviously is pretty solid. No change in that, which is consistent and which is in keeping with the ethos of Pakistan armed forces. Regarding the approach to be used, I think that is the pearl of five ties that we are all chasing. We got to be aware of certain facts that the environment in Afghanistan and our neighborhood, especially on our eastern borders, India. So there is a kind of a entente cordiale between their interests, wherein India is also, keeping the pot boiling by way of its active support directly to TTP elements. Now there is no, doubt about this thing that India, in addition to supporting these non-state actors who are operating against Pakistan, who their proxies, have started open and direct channels as well. And we have credible and tangible proofs for that. Regarding Afghanistan, you see, that is another extraneous factor. Our Afghan interim government, that in fact has neither the capability nor the desire to put a stop to the depredations of non-state actors. And there are actors like TTP which are operating against Pakistan. There are actors like ISKP which are emerging as a clear and present danger to countries like Russia, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, where they have had the present acts of terror in the recent past. But they are also emerging as a cesspool of terrorism which can radiate threats beyond this region as well. And it is precisely this danger that the global powers like United States have to reckon with, that this black hole, if it keeps festering, it will again start radiating instability and terrorism, and for which the international community might have to spend a lot more than it is spending at the moment containing this menace. For Pakistan, I believe there is no option but to engage with the Afghan interim government and impress upon them the need to rein in these elements. And we must use all our channels, diplomatic, people-to-people, military, overt channels, in order to impress upon them to rein in these elements. Otherwise, there is a steady stream of elements which are coming across the border from the safe sanctuaries. So that needs to be, properly pursued with our Afghan interim government friends. And on internal front, I think there's a need to create a kind of a better coordination between the civil and military components, the provincials, to pay attention to this governance part in their merged districts, because as of now, there's very little administrative governance there. There is virtually no policing in the merged districts, and the presence of judiciary is not there. So there is virtual vacuum in which these non-state actors find their habitat, and they come and they merge with the population, and they are operating from those cells.
That is the basic crux of the matter as far as this fitna is concerned. But that does not undermine or does not put aside the fact that both the countries have a certain relationship, and we need to build on that. Ali, when it comes to either the formation commanders meeting or a recent media briefing given by the Foreign Office, both have talked about focusing on mutually beneficial engagements between the Afghan interim government and Pakistan. The formation commanders meeting talks about that, plus visible measures that need to be taken by the Afghan side to prevent the use of assault by terrorists, whereas Zahra Mumtaz Baloch, our Foreign Office spokesperson, talks about the Pakistan and Afghanistan discussing the aspects of combating the threat that Pakistan faces, and also that Afghanistan needs to take the necessary action. My question that I have asked you many times before as well, the Afghan interim government understands, I hope, all that Pakistan has done in the last few decades, and also the fact that Pakistan continues to support the Afghan interim government on international fora, but not when it comes to the influx of terrorism. Can we foresee a possibility where the Afghan interim government finally realizes and undertakes necessary measures to thwart such activities, or is it something that is going to go on unabated?
Umar, I completely reiterate and endorse what Brigadier Rashid Wali Janjua just said. I think Pakistan needs to engage with the Afghan leadership through all possible channels, whether it's political, diplomatic, military, intelligence, people-to-people, economic, in order to convince them that meeting international obligations and expectations towards eradicating terrorism is in Afghan government's and Afghan nation's own interest. And there is a huge price that the Afghan nation is paying due to the lingering threat of terrorists within their own territory, not just as a Pakistani, But I think you would recall recently there was a major skirmish, even with the Iranians on the Afghan-Iran border, which led to the death of more than 17 people. And you would also recall the recent UN report, which expressed grave concern at the rise and revival of Afghanistan as a global hub of terrorist organizations, including Daesh, including ETIM, including TTP, including BLA, BLF, including Al Qaeda as well. And there was a very serious concern being expressed that some of these terrorist organizations have made inroads deep into the ministries and government departments of Afghanistan. So I think that is something that the Afghan leadership needs to realize, that it is in their own interest, if they expect international recognition, support, investment to come their way, that they need to meet international legal obligations, diplomatic commitments, and eradicate terrorism from their own borders, and walk the talk, basically, and basically not take Pakistan in particular, among other neighbors, for granted. And I think it's about time that Pakistan must warn them that this irresponsible statecraft will have consequences. And because I think it seems that they are taking perhaps Pakistan for granted, which should not be the case.
I, of course, mostly agree with whatever you were saying. Rashid, Wali, Janjua Saab, the one aspect of terrorism is what we are seeing through the fitna, through the BLA, and through such other outfits that trickles down in Pakistan and causes havoc. The other part of terrorism is what our Chief of the Army Staff has also called, and or DGISP, digital terrorism. This is also something that was reiterated in the Formation Commanders meeting. Pre-planned, coordinated and premeditated propaganda has also resurfaced against state institutions, including the armed forces recently. In the meeting, it was said that this was a continuity of a sinister design by certain political elements and a deliberate attempt to create a wedge between the armed forces and the public and the institutions of Pakistan, and also fueled and abetted by external players, quote unquote. I'm telling you exactly what was said. What measures, in your point of view, need to be taken in order to curb this menace of fake news that targets institution and creates rifts? I see that FIRs have been registered against 7 individuals, and before that also cases were registered against 12 suspects whose identities have been established to have participated in anti-state propaganda and false narratives via social media platforms. Is this enough? What more needs to be done?
I think the best antidote is a better counter-narrative and exposition of the facts. Because if you give the facts, the people who are famished of the truth and correct news, those would lap those up instead of the drivel that is being disseminated by echo chambers and these factories of fake news. Unfortunately, it's a reality that this social media landscape is being used extensively as a new battleground by forces inimical to Pakistan. We know external forces, those are investing very, very munificently to destabilize Pakistan through social media. And nowadays, once the mainstream media is losing its attraction because the way they present the facts, and the young generation especially is getting hooked onto social media. So we need a system wherein our counter narrative is strongly packaged and presented. We preempt their lies through our own fact checks, and there should be more fact check websites on which the people should have easy access to find what is true and what is untrue. Second, another very most, I reckon the most important part is a sense of retribution and accountability. Because without that, you cannot allow a free for all. So a targeted technological capability should be there to identify those cells operating with this malicious intent on social media, peddling lies, creating echo chambers of lies, and then giving virality and snowballing those lies so as to ensure that the existing biases are reinforced and people get polarized. The impact of this polarization needs to be quantified through actual research studies and surveys, and then corrective measures should be taken. And if we have to apply the PACA laws a little more stringently, I think we should not desist from that. And there should be clear, accountability mechanism and the punishments meted out. We have a very weak legal system in Pakistan. I think our judiciary also has to be tapped, and they also have to shoulder this responsibility now, because this is becoming existential crisis. It's a clear and present danger to the national security, because any external or inimical force that wishes to stoke the unrest, that can create certain themes, give virality, and make people, enemies. So this, at this point of time where we need national cohesion the most, I think that is the most detrimental part. And the way armed forces were presented by certain, political actors for petty, expedient political gains, and trying to implicate armed forces in acts and imputing acts which were not committed at all, and giving false figures, giving astronomical, figures which belie belief. So those kind of incorrect facts and their dissemination should not go unpunished and unchecked through a system of better oversight. This firewall that we have created, I don't know what it has achieved so far, other than slowing down the traffic and blocking up.
There's a joint task force also that has been established, and I think we will see what happens in the next couple of days as far as the methodology of this joint task force is concerned.
We need judiciary to be part of this process. There are libel laws, the weakest link in this whole exercise. Even if we pin the blame, the joint task force identifies. If the judiciary lets off scot-free those elements which have clear proofs against their acts, I think we'll not win this war.
All right. Thank you very much to both of my guests. We are a bit short of time, or else I would have loved to talk a bit more with all of you. Syed Muhammad Ali, our leading senior analyst, thank you very much to have joined us, as well as Brigadier Retired Rashid Wali Janjua Saab, defense analyst, to have joined us. Thank you to both of you gentlemen to have given us your valid input as far as this very important issue of terrorism is concerned, whether it be the conventional terrorism that we are seeing from across the Afghan border, or the unconventional kind, that is the digital terrorism that has also created havoc in Pakistan through false narratives and fake news. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the 16 days of activism and violence against women. Now, this 16 days of activism against gender-based violence is an annual international civil society campaign. It begins on the 25th of November every year with the International Day of the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and it ends on the 10th of December, which is the Human Rights Day, highlighting the violence against women as the most pervasive breach of human rights worldwide. The campaign was launched by activists at the inaugural Women's Global Leadership Institute in 1991 and has since mobilized individuals and organizations, including the United Nations and partners worldwide, to advocate the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls worldwide. And of course, this is under the whole auspices of the United Nations that this movement has gained ground. And even in Pakistan, we have many organizations, especially under the ambit of the United Nations, along with other NGOs, that work with the United Nations in order to do the needful or work against this menace. We've been joined by a very important personality in that respect, the resident representative, the country representative of UNFPA in Pakistan, Dr. Luay Shabaneh, is right here with us. Thank you very much, Dr. Luay, to have joined us. I'd like to begin with this 16 days of activism, which of course, as I was saying in the introduction, begins on the 25th of last month, ends on the 10th, that is coming Tuesday. And of course, the gender-based violence, as the United Nations also puts it, is a crisis that is urgent, and its measures need to be taken on an urgent footprint as far as this very important issue is concerned. But it all began with the Beijing Declaration, 30 years back. How important is that declaration now, 30 years later?
Thank you very much, Omar. The issue of gender-based violence and violence against women in general is one of the most chronic pandemics that has to come an end. We cannot survive in a world where our daughters, mothers, wives, sisters are subject to violence because of their gender. Gender-based violence is a pandemic because it makes half of the society out of service for the future of the nations. Therefore, this issue is extremely important. It is a global pandemic that has to come an end. It's not local in any of the societies. It is not linked to any religion or culture. It is global, but of course it differs from context to context, from culture to culture, from religion to religion, and it is mainly based in the social norms. Therefore, this 16 days of activism is a global campaign that is meant to shed light on this issue and to ensure that governments, civil society, academia, private sector, activists work together to reach a situation where this pandemic come to an end.
All right, let's look a little bit at the global figures. Nearly 1 in 3 women experience violence in their lifetime. Girls are at particular risk of violence. 1 in 4 adolescent girls is abused by their partners. These are global numbers. For thousands of women, this cycle of gender-based violence ended with one violent and brutal act, their murder by partners or family members. It also happens worldwide. Femicide or feminicide is the intentional killing of a woman or girl because of her gender, which is a universal and a very brutal problem. Why is there such a prevalence of violence against women globally?
Because there is inequilibrium in the power structure at the family level. Because of that, many countries are driven by men only, and the point of view of women is not integrated in an equal way when it comes to looking at the social agenda. Many countries, the whole social agenda is not on the radar. They focus on politics, they focus on security, they focus on economy and bringing money and financial issues, and they forget for many reasons actually the issue related to the way how women are surviving and contributing to the economy, to the social life, to the education, and to their well-being. The issue of gender-based violence, it is cross borders because this is the nature of humans. And it is very important that it is addressed locally within the culture so that we are able to create a way that it is addressed at the community level, going up to the policies, to the legislation, to the programs. But governments have responsibility to allocate funds, enough funds to addressing these issues. They have political leaders have the responsibility to speak every day. In every speech, in every public speech, they have to speak about this issue. Political parties, they have to integrate in their manifesto and to implement after elections all the issues related to women's rights. If you come to Pakistan, Pakistan has gone through a lot of positive progress in this regard, but the way is still it's still slow.
Let's talk of numbers in Pakistan. 32% of women experience physical violence, and 40% of married women have suffered from spousal abuse at some point of their lives. Half of the women who face violence have never reported it. What are the underlying issues as far as our society is concerned?
You know, Amar, and I don't like to speak about numbers because the issue is not numbers. Violence for one person, one woman, destroy the life for the rest of her life. If you get a girl at the age of 15, 16, 17, 13 to get married, this means that she is out of education, she is out of being able to fulfill her potential, she will kill her dreams, and then it's a pain for the rest of her life. The underlying causes for violence in our region in general, first, it's culture. Second, it is the imbalanced power structure. Third, the legal framework is shy to have aggressive, courageous laws, and the implementation of the laws is very poor. And all these 4 reasons, unfortunately, apply to Pakistan.
Dr. Shabaneh, Pakistan has some very good legislation when it comes to women's rights. What more needs to be done, in your point of view, under these legal frameworks to protect and respond to the survivors of gender-based violence?
Let me disagree with you, Omar.
Okay.
Pakistan has legislative framework, but it is not enough.
Okay.
But it has progressed on the legislation.
Okay.
But the implementation, the enforcement of laws is another pandemic in Pakistan and needs to have more and more work to implement.
Okay.
The implementation and having the government, civil society, private sector, academia accountable for women, political parties accountable to their promises for women is the way that needs to be addressed to ensure that we are able to bridge the gap. Let me just give you some statistics globally,
Okay.
which I would like to see Pakistan departing. If you look at the gender parity report, global report, you can see Pakistan is the one before the last. Globally, among all countries, Pakistan is in the lowest. If you look at the social progress index, which looks at the well-being, it will about participation of women, it looks about the economic empowerment. Pakistan is in tier 5, which is the low social progress countries. All these indicators needs to change. In order to change it, you have in this country to invest in women capacity, their opportunities and their skills, and also to enforce whatever laws you have, and to have more and more aggressive or courageous, brave laws that put human rights as the basis when it comes to women's space and to women opportunities to fulfill their opportunities. Violence could take place. It's not difficult to have violence against women. But at the end, if we look at it from human side, you can break your wife, but then you have to live with a broken person. You can break your daughter, but you will have to live with a broken person. Therefore, we have to condemn socially at the community level. In our mindset has to change. And in order to be able to change this mindset, men has very important role.
Okay, so what role do men play, or can men play in our society or globally to address gender-based violence?
Let me focus on society in Pakistan. Okay. I am now in Pakistan.
Okay.
Political leaders are men. Ministers are men. Judges are men. Legislators are men. How come they will be able to?
They are also women in it.
There is very little women. The first step is to have enough women. Okay. In the parliament, in the government, in the governments and the assemblies, in the provinces, in the government public machinery. Once you give more space for women, then you can listen to their point of views.
But Dr. Shabaneh, here I would like to interrupt you, because
Please.
Even globally in the West, we see a lot of patriarchy within these very systems that you talk about. How many leaders in the world have you seen being women? Here we've had at least a Prime Minister who's been Benazir Bhutto more than once. We've had a Speaker of the National Assembly who's been a woman. We've had many other ministers who have been women. Our Chief Minister of Punjab is a woman at this time. Right. How many countries in the West can also boast of that?
All these are blessings for Pakistan. But do you think it is enough? It's good on the way, but there is a room to improve. There is a room to improve. Actually, our executive director, was a Pakistani woman. You have many inspiring
Dr. Nafis
women.
Sadiq,
Yes,
I need
Dr.
to add
Nafis
that.
Sadiq, exactly. We have too many inspiring women leaders from Pakistan. But is that the mainstream?
Okay.
This is the question. If we have this issue in other countries, this should not justify that we keep it, right?
Point taken. Dr. Shabaneh, also there are different costs to gender-based violence. Do you feel economy is one of them? Because you've taken out a report, your organization, the UNFPA, that talks about women positively contributing to economy and prosperity of our country. They are, you say, as per the report, the hidden half of our economy. Does gender-based violence prevent them from seeking opportunities or participating in the economy? Is there an economic cost to gender-based violence?
The economic cost is very high for gender-based violence. Very, very high. I do remember in the old years, I have prepared a costing for gender-based violence in Egypt, and it was in $1 billion that the government put. If you look at the opportunities that they are lost, if you look at the treatment, the cost of the treatment, the number of people that have to be recruited to address the helpline, the issues related to training of women, looking at the survivors of gender-based violence. Therefore, I think it's very high cost, and you get half of the population out of service, which is something nobody wants to see in any country.
That is so true. And of course, as they say, women are the harbingers of our future generations. They are the one who rear the upcoming boys and girls, and they tell them how to lead their lives, and they are that institution.
That's true.
And they need to be strong enough for that. And gender violence, I feel, not only hampers the women but also hampers those young boys and girls who witness such gender-based violence, and it also affects them physically and psychologically. When you talk of your organizations, UNFPA or the United Nations in general, what are the measures that you have been taken or continue to take globally and regionally and locally to end gender-based violence and such practices?
The United Nations is bringing to countries, particularly a big country like Pakistan, drop in the ocean. What we do, we partner with the government. We engaged with the government at different levels, at the service provision, at the policy, at the advocacy level, to ensure that gender equality is integrated in the whole machinery. The mindset is changed. The services that are available for survival of gender-based violence is available and efficient. The prevention at the community level is taking place. The changing in the mindset to address and integrate in the social norms also is taking place. So all this is measures that are taken by the United Nations, including UNFPA and UN Women and other UN agencies. And I must say that we are on the right track in terms of condemning this pandemic. And I can see that since I've been here for 2 years, that there is a lot of progress is taking place, but the way is still long.
Of course, there's a long way, but there's a long way in Pakistan. And as you said, we should not take the example of other countries. We should follow our own lead and make our country an example for other countries to follow. When it comes to the 16 days of activism, and when you look at, the Beijing Declaration that cited all, there's a, you have a platform for action in 2025 as well that you have to adhere to. Are you on track?
We are not on track in any country.
Okay.
Let me put it very frankly, on SDGs, on the ICPD, or on Beijing. But there is progress. In many countries, there is progress. I would love to see Pakistan doing more steps on this plan of action. Not necessarily the global plan of actions, the national plan of action, because there is no difference between the global and the national. The vision of Pakistan towards women is very progressive, but the implementation of this vision is a gap that needs to be filled, and to have more coherent work. The federal, provincial, community, public, private. We need to create a case where violence is condemned at all levels. Second, to give more space for girls and women, to equip them with skills, opportunities, and if women are given opportunities, they will fix everything by themselves. They are strong. Women are strong, and the few leaders in your history for women who have got this space, they were inspiring. They were leading. They were a good example for many. And we need to speak more and more about these women leaders across the board, so that the young generation can see that there is an icon where they can follow.
When you look at cultures such as ours or any Muslim country, a lot of people equate the culture with religion. What does our religion also say about empowerment of women or giving women their rights?
Let's look at Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was one of the leaders. Look at Asma. She was one of the leaders. When the Prophet came, he changed the whole narrative about women. Quraysh was burying girls, right? And he made them leaders. No, the issue of violence against women does not exist in the religion at all. It exists in the inherited culture from different backgrounds. And it is across the board. If you look at the child marriage, it's not in Muslim countries. It's in all countries that they are called developing countries, where the conservative culture is taking place to keep the imbalanced power structure between men and women, because it is in the interest of men to have women just doing the service for them. And this is historical. It has nothing to do with religion. Pakistan is a Muslim country, is a leading Muslim country, but we have to confess that there is conservative social norms that needs to be disengaged from the interpretation of the religion. This is very important, because there is no interest for anyone to discuss or address or challenge the religion. This is part of the identity of the country.
I agree.
But the social norms, the culture that has been created by us, it could be changed.
How, when you talk of disengagement of social norms, Dr. Shabaneh, how can that take place? How do you rise up the pyramid?
What we are doing now, we are engaging with religious scholars,
All right.
Muslim religious scholars, who understand the religion very properly, and they disengage what is inherited from the culture and what came through Quran and Hadith. And 2 weeks ago, we were filming a documentary about child marriage, and I have very inspiring religious scholars who spoke about this. They said the whole narrative is speaking about how to suppress women, but they didn't speak about the life of the Prophet. How he was doing very good things for women, for his wife, for his daughter. Yes.
She was a businesswoman. She
Exactly.
was older than he. She was the one. I mean, this is just one of the many examples that our religion has.
Exactly. So we need to unpack this. We need to speak about these components that really contribute to have everyone in the society a space in order to contribute positively and to feel that this is my space. It's not by saying I was born in Pakistan, I am Pakistani, but in this place I have a space. I can fulfill my aspirations. I can see this is a place where the future of my sons, my daughters, is the best to stay.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Luay Shabaneh, Country Representative, UNFPA Pakistan, to have joined us for this very important discussion, and I hope we'll have more of such discussions in the days to come as well. Kindly stay with us for a few more minutes till I finish my show. Just 2 more minutes. Last two stories, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the 32nd anniversary. I shouldn't say anniversary. The 32 years have passed since the shahadat of the historic Babri Mosque in India. On the 6th of December 1992, the Babri Mosque was demolished by extremists extremist Hindus in Ayodhya in Uttar Pradesh. The attackers belonged to the Bharatiya Janata Party, the Rashtriya Bhavishek Singh, the Vishwa Hindu Prasad and the Bajrang Dal. They targeted the Babri Masjid with axes, hammers and other tools. There was a strong protest and registration and resistance from Muslims, but to no avail. More than 2,000 Muslims were martyred and thousands injured in the riots that ensued. BJP leaders L.K. Advani and Manohar Joshi instigated the crowd to demolish the Babri Mosque. After the demolition of the Babri Mosque, BJP's Lok Sabha seats increased from 121 to 188, and since 1992, more than 500 mosques and shrines have been demolished in the Indian state of Gujarat alone. I think this is a very strong sign of what has been happening as far as the minorities are concerned, specifically the Muslim minority in our neighborhood country of India. Maybe some sanity will prevail in the days to come. I really hope so. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, today is the 53rd martyrdom anniversary of Major Shabbir Sharif Shaheed, Nishan-e-Haider and pride of Pakistan. During the Pak-India War of 1971, he was tasked with securing a strategically critical high ground near the Suleiman Key headworks. On the night of the 5th and the 6th of December, he displayed unparalleled courage by engaging in hand-to-hand combat and eliminating the company commander of the 4 Jat Regiment. He valiantly repelled repeated enemy counterattacks, personally destroying advancing tanks, and having successfully captured the objective and defended it against successive assaults, he embraced martyrdom on this very day in 1971. There have been very important messages on this occasion by our President Asif Ali Zardari Sahab and our Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif Sahab. And both talk about the pride that Pakistan has in its brave officers like Major Shabbir Sharif Shaheed, and of course that the nation acknowledges the sacrifices of all martyrs and will never forget them. That is what I will end my show with. Never forget those sacrifices. With that, we end today's show. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with news stories and segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Of course, not tomorrow because it's the weekend. I forgot it's a Friday. We'll see you inshallah on Monday with news stories, segments that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Have a wonderful weekend. Allah Hafiz.